Hi, JP here. I'm going to show you how I prepare my bases before I make my LED bulbs out of old bases here. So I start with I use a little bag and I take the bulb and put it in a bag to keep the glass from going everywhere. Put it in the bag, stick it in the vise here, and that one's done. And we'll do the rest. I'm going to do a dozen here. So that was the first one. I'll do the other 11 and then move on to the next step. Okay, so I did 12. Here's the bases I prepared. It took 8 seconds each, so it took a minute and 45 seconds to do a dozen bulbs. The next thing I'm going to do is break up the edge a little bit where some of the glass isn't broken. Just kind of lightly tap it around the edges. Just means less to clean out for the next step. And I'll stop this and carry on next step. Okay, the next step, I made a little jig here. I drilled a 3/8 diameter hole into a piece of wood and with a little Dremel tool made some notches so these bases fit into the little holder there. And I take a little chisel and break out the glass in here, or sometimes use the Dremel tool and kind of grind out to clean it out inside. So the next step is to clean out the inside. Now I'm going to set the camera down here and clean this one out. Can't really hold the camera and hold the punch and hold the hammer all at the same time, but I took the hammer and I broke this up, this glass. Now just clean this out and it's cleaned out. Just pull the wires out of there, break that wire out. Okay, the wires broke out. It's cleaned. It's clean enough to put 2 resistors in there. So I'm going to do the rest of these and then I'll show you. I'll drill the hole through the bottom there. Alright, so cleaned out 12 bases. That took 7 minutes and 37 seconds, which is about 45 seconds per base. That's by far the longest little process here. And then I'm going to put the base back into the little jig I made and get ready to drill this little hole through there. And I'm going to put the camera down because I can't hold the camera and hold the wood and do the drilling at the same time, but you get the idea here. I'm going to drill a little hole through the little tit on the end of the base. Okay, so I've drilled all these holes. It took 7 minutes and 19 seconds. So I'm going to total up the time here and let you know how long it took me to do a dozen bases preparing for the next step. Okay, for those that are interested in how long it actually takes, I totaled up all the time. It was looking at all the steps I did. It took a little over 15 minutes from breaking the glass to getting the holes all drilled and preparing them to this point. And these are done, ready for kind of the final assembly. It took 15 minutes for 12, so it took just about a minute and a half per bulb to prepare each base, a minute and a half per base. Now I'm going to do part 2 of this, which will be reassembling the resistors and the LED that goes into the base, and that's going to be part 2 is going to be using 2 resistors, making an anti-flicker LED instead of the standard LED.